So what I want to do today is look at this question, right? So what are we going to write about when it comes to CS? Now every time I use CS here, by the way, in my last class, see, we actually did this on the board. And at the end, I wrote it all down. Now I'm going to do it here because this is going to be a whole lot easier to read, and you'll be able to have it, for reference on a video. So anyway, so we're learning a lot about breakfast, right? I mean, you've read already a good bit at the beginning. You've read stuff for the review of literature. You've done questions. We did 2 surveys. Actually, we have another round of questions coming and another survey. We've got to do it. Okay. But then we're going to have something really good. I promise you. It's going to be really good. All right. But what are we going to write? What are we going to write? So I had a student the other day show me a research paper. And you know what it was? It was actually a critique. He did nothing more than summarize another article. And this is a common phenomenon, right? So we got to move beyond pure information. We got to move beyond. We use information, but if we're going to go beyond the essential critique or summary and evaluation thing, we have to move into being able to creatively take the data we know from all the places we've gotten it from and put it together in a new way, in a new arrangement, right, that will allow someone to see a point we're trying to make. And we're going to use things like definition and the data we have, definitions, data, testimony, and common values we can assume, and good old-fashioned common sense reasoning to make a case for something, right? Now, I don't want us to make the case for this. College students should eat breakfast. That's kind of, I don't know if it's necessarily research worthy in that phrasing of it. I think we need to get a little more sophisticated, a little more specific, a little more nuanced with this notion. Okay. If we had a room of 100 college students in here, and I asked them, how many of you think it's healthy, you should be concerned about your health? I think 98 to 100% would raise their hands. You know why? Because I looked at all the answers you gave me in your surveys, and almost everyone said that they thought regular exercise was good, right? Remember that? Okay. Then I'll ask them, how many of you feel guilty about your current health habits? And about, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being like really guilty, what's your number? And I'll say, number 1, and here are a few hands. Number 2, when we get to 7, a lot of people in the room are going to raise their hands. That's about how guilty college students feel about their exercise habits, their health. They know it's important, they know they can't do it. So next, if I say, a good healthy breakfast, how many of you believe it's healthy for you and you ought to eat it? How many hands do you think are going to go up? Seriously, out of a room out of 100 college students that just had those 2 questions levied to them, how many are going to say yes to this third question? 95 to 100%? So why do we need research for that? See, let's get a little more sophisticated with this question. So, and we're actually doing it in I'm very comfortable with how we're approaching this. What we did first is we read, and we thought, and we questioned, and we tried to answer those questions with stuff on the internet, just trying to answer questions for definitions like what's an empty calorie, questions about process and habits like how good or how bad is juicing for you, and stuff like that. Questions about nutrition and body development, like what does your body do when it's asleep, and that sort of thing. So we've learned a lot, right? And then we've done these surveys. We've gotten a lot of data, and now what we need to do, before we try to figure out what we're going to write about, I know we're writing about breakfast, but before we try to, that's our topic, right? Topic comes first, and then you develop your thesis. You develop your thesis only after you've looked at the data. Now you might have some clue or some general guess at the beginning where you might want to go, but you got to let your data create your thesis. So the first thing we need to do before we answer this question up here is we just need to list the stuff we've learned, okay? So I know this. I know that we have, and hey, you help me out too, because I might put some stuff up here from the last class, and you might look at it and say, hey, he forgot about this. I know from the surveys I looked at, the ones I took, I know that I think this is the case too. So anyway, I know America is preoccupied with health. Yeah, I know that. You know what I should say? I should say that I can support this by just looking by mentioning some popular articles and I can maybe look at news sites and tell you how many times every day an article on health is going to come out. And I also think it's kind of, I think we just sort of can intuit this as a culture. Now, when I say America, I don't mean every single person. Just as when I say the average college student, I don't mean every single college student. But I think there's enough of a consensus to say that America as a whole, most of the people in America are going to be aware of health issues and of the necessity of good exercise and good eating. They're going to be preoccupied with health. If you have any doubt about this, just listen to the current dialogue on Obamacare. I mean, this is very close to us, okay? So now I also know that around 95, and you know what? I actually don't have the exact numbers right now because I haven't processed them through your surveys. I will shortly, but I know it's going to be high. 90, because of what I've seen already. Okay, CS is going to be college students, average college students, whatever. Say health, exercise is very important. Okay. Now, I know that many college students are actually feeling much guilt. Round 7 from, let's see, 7 from 1 through 10 about their habits. Let's see, health habits. Okay. Now, when I'm making this list, I'm not already thinking, oh, this is how I'm going to tie it together. I'm not. I'm just trying to put stuff up there that I know we can say, let's run with this because we can support it. Okay. Here's something else that we saw. I'm remembering back to the articles we read, and remember that dorm, the one about the college. There were 2 colleges, right, that had like 2 dorms. Well, one college had a certain dorm where it's like they had a swimming pool or a gym inside the dorm or something, you know, and everyone. Another college had a dorm where it was like, we're your family, come eat with us, talk with us, room with us, we'll exercise together, we're doing so much together, we're going to sit down and have meals together, remember that? We're going to share health goals together, and if you get into that dorm, you're in that environment. So, and then remember the zombie run? Now there's runs like the Tough Mudder and the Warrior Dash, which are appealing to, you know, people with physical energy and want to get muddy and want to like get out some violent propensities or whatever. I'm going to say that would be appealing to college students. Then there was it, but then the Zombie Dash is what you read about. It was actually, I think, developed by a college student or someone very close in age to the college age we're looking at, 18 to 22, and that after you did this, it was like a game, right? Sort of like a video game that you actually physically took part in running to get from A to B without getting like infected or something. After you got all muddy and everything, they were going to have live music, free beer, and it was free beer and I think dancing or partying until like late at night or something. So it was like a college frat or you know, that college party atmosphere that you hear so much about. I don't know if it's actually really such a thing, but nevertheless, it's like Akron after winning the Akron Wheel. No, I'm just joking. Car flipping, yeah. Anyway, they were like, okay, afterwards it's party time. Well, you know, really, who's going to be drawn to that? So what I'm suggesting is, I think we can support, at least make it as a sort of like a reasonable assumption, that there are commercialized endeavors out there that are designed to appeal to college students. Now, commercialized in the sense of people, you know what they want to do here is they want to make money off this, and they realize they can't. Bottled water is the classic example of this. Do you know you're paying what's the figure? Now, I don't want to just throw it out here, but for the same amount of water, it's like a penny that you would pay out of the tap, but you're paying like $1 for the bottle. I mean, it's like 2,000 times more you're paying for that bottled water than you would pay for your water bill if you just drank from the tap. I'm talking about relative sizing and all that. So, you know, you're willing to pay 2,000 times more for that bottled water? Really? Well, it's a social thing. But you know, people have recognized this, and they've built factories for this. And you have a company that's willing to flex and to take on new endeavors. They'll do this in a heartbeat. IBM is in the water business, believe it or not. Coke obviously is. It's the one that sells Dasani, isn't it? And Pepsi does Evian, or or Aqua Pure or something. You know, they have their own brands of bottled water. It's all Coke still, but nonetheless. So people know that there's money to be made here, right? So you have things like, you know, Zombie Run. You have 2 colleges designing healthy dorms. Now, to be fair to this, we got to figure out how much they're charging for that dorm. So if they're not charging anything extra, it doesn't cost more to go to that dorm than to just a dorm that doesn't care about any of that. Then we can't say that they're out to make money for it. But I do know that it's sort of like a designed service. Okay. All right. So from the surveys we took, I know that college students, and again, CS, when I say college student, I'm just talking about the average college student. Okay. So you're going to have exceptions, but for the most part, the average college student is not going to have access to a fridge or and stove. It's important that we remember that we looked at this as a pair. So I'm just going to go ahead and underline that. The idea of storing food and cooking it on your own, it just can't do it. You need both for that, right? I mean, in theory, you probably could just use a stove if you're buying your stuff fresh every day, but you know what I mean. So, anyway, yeah, I can prove this from the survey, and I'll show you the numbers again. That the college student has around 15 minutes for breakfast. Okay. So again, I don't think of like, okay, now I know exactly how I'm going to tie. I don't know how I'm going to tie all this stuff together. I might not even use some of this, but I don't know what my thesis is yet. What I'm doing is I'm just saying, okay, enough. I've already done a lot of research. Let me put down what I know. Let me put down stuff I know I can support through, you know, maybe that page in that book or that chart over there in the journal article or the survey I took. I know I can support this. I know I can support this. I know I can support this. So just put it down. All right. So I know this. I know we got that from the survey. Now I also know average time falls asleep is 12:30 a.m. So this automatically makes me want to ask a question. You know what the question is? What time do they, on average, in a workday, have to get up? Because if they have to get up at 7, if they have to be on the go at 7, right? Out of there, they have to get up like at 6:30 for a quick shower and put on some clothes and maybe, you know, brush your teeth and put some makeup on or something like that, right? So that's maybe 6:30. Is that crazy? Can you do that in 30 minutes? What if you are constantly getting up at 6? You're constantly going to bed at 12:30 or 1, and you're constantly getting up at 6. You're getting 5 hours of sleep. Okay, what's that doing to your body? And so are you in a perpetual state of tiredness and of being rushed? Because if you're in a perpetual state of being rushed, are you going to really sit down and have a nice breakfast? Might you just start skipping breakfast because you don't want to necessarily at the beginning do it, but you gotta go, right? So I want to know actually how many. So here's a question we need to answer, but we're going to have to do this one in a survey. So, oh boy, here we go again. But you know what? This is research. This is exactly how you do it. When you realize, hey, I see maybe an idea starting to take place. I've got a question I want to answer. Does that mean I gotta get out there again to do this survey? You know what? Yes, it does. Okay. So let's do this. And okay, can I make this promise to you now? This will be the last survey we do. All right. So I don't know if it's going to help, but I'm going to try to open this door. Two more in here. Maybe one of you can stand here and just do this number, right? Next time I'll just bring the palm leaves. Anyway, survey. So there are questions we need to answer, but we can do that through the net, through research. All right. Survey questions. How should we phrase this? What time does a college student have to, should we say, wake up or get going? Get going is kind of vague, huh? Maybe because people know, if they know they have to be out the door, which is another way of saying get going. That's why I mean it's kind of vague. They know that there's a previous time at which they have to get up, right? So I think we should just say, what time do you have to get out of bed, on average? Bed, on average. Well, you know what? Let's go Monday through Friday. Weekday. Yeah, weekday then. Weekday being Monday through Friday, okay? No weekends. Okay. So what else do we know from the surveys? We know that the vast majority of college students are poor, in the sense that they don't have a lot of money just to spend on food and stuff. Okay? Average CS does not have a lot of money to spend per week. Can I put this in my research? Can I put this sentence in my research just like that? No. I need to be more specific, and I need to tag it to a survey or a study. So, just for brainstorming right now, I'm going to do that. But I'll have the number. We'll get the number. What was it, like $40, $30 or something like that a week? Something like that. So we did the survey. We know we can put a number to this. Which makes me ask this question, okay? And this is something I think we need to answer from the web or some other document. See, I'm going shopping on Monday. I'm going to actually take a clipboard, and I'll get some answers for us. But these are answers. Hold on a second here. And that's this. Just how cheap is, or inexpensive, that's a better word, is junk food. Okay. Now this is we might find this in an article somewhere, because this is a live question. It's being asked right now in the dialogue about obesity and healthy habits and that sort of thing. Okay. And the idea is, so you want me to eat broccoli and cauliflower and carrots and fish, salmon, fish, and all this because of the omega-3 vitamins and all that. Do you know how hard it is to find that stuff? Other than a nice grocery store. How to get to that grocery store, and how much it costs. So if you're really struggling with finances, you know what you might start doing 3 or 4 times a week? Going to McDonald's for the dollar menu. I mean, seriously. You go to McDonald's for the dollar menu, and you get a meal for $3 or something. And part of that meal is a huge cup of sugary stuff. And just look at the content, right? Now look at that physical content. Pick it up and feel how it weighs. Now stick it in your belly. I mean, can you imagine just kind of like putting it right into your stomach? You realize how heavy that would feel in there? How it might trick you to think that you're full, that you're like, you want to stop eating, that you're okay now, you're not hungry anymore because of that just physical weight. And then throw that white bread in. That's going to expand, it's processed. So people end up feeling full at McDonald's for $3. But what's the benefit of that? What's the health of that? So what I'm saying is, it's really, really affordable for many people to eat junky food. It's easy to get because you can walk to it, maybe the convenience store. and it's just that little Snicker bar seems to make you feel the same way as a plate full of vegetables. All right, so you're not getting the same nutrition. That's kind of obvious. Just look at the volume, or look at what goes into the Snicker bar, and look at that big old plate of lettuce and tomatoes and cauliflower and some fish or something, or I don't know what, some beans. I know you're not getting the same amount of nutrition, but because of what goes into that fast food thing, you might feel the same way after you eat the 2 meals. Because this one actually makes you feel full too, right? So anyway, what I'm saying is there's a problem with this, and I want to know how inexpensive it is. Because if you have a college student that's all of a sudden having to pay for her own meals and has $30 a week, what might that imply, right? So that's a question I think we're going to have to answer just off the web or something. Okay, hey, do you see any, I have some more here, but are there any other things we need to add to the list of what we know? What do you think we can prove from the surveys? Now, we worked on one particular question. Let me put it up here and then I'll come back to you so you think a little bit about, hey, is there anything else up here that we need to put up? I'm sure there are some other things. I actually don't have my surveys here, and I should have had them averaged out and generalized, but that would have really helped us inform this list, expand it. But anyway, I do know that we looked at the contents for what they're reading, right? And the majority college students are eating prepackaged, pro-packaged, remember that? Cooked by someone else and sold OTC, over the counter. So, is a candy bar, is a Snicker bar sold over the counter at a gas station? Sure, absolutely. But what I'm saying here is I'm trying to capture the fast food market. I'm trying to capture Rob's or whatever diner you can go to and swipe a cash card and get a meal on a meal plan or something. Einstein Bagels, Starbucks, that whole sort of thing where they're making the food in their own kitchen. You're just kind of trusting them on it. And you just get the finished product, and down it goes. You give them money, they give you the finished product. So, Dunkin' Donuts is like this. Okay, they're eating that. They're eating prepackaged, and they're eating the minimum do-it-yourself meal. So it's like the very basic meal. Grab a banana, grab some water, grab an orange, grab a donut, an old donut you had there from the other day. Grab that, okay, and just eat it and go. Feel free to do that. Yeah. All right. I know we can support this. I know it. So I'm going to put it up there. But what does this imply? All right. Okay. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go. Okay. Look, if it's prepackaged, implies. That's my little symbol for implies. It implies. For one thing, preservatives, natural flavoring. Have you ever seen that on a package? Natural flavoring? You know what natural flavoring means? It's just any sort of flavoring that comes from the natural world. So, if you like almond cake or almond bars, what do they call them? Mounds or whatever? You like that sort of thing? Anything flavored with vanilla? You like vanilla flavoring and something? You know where they're getting the vanilla extract from? The anal gland of a beaver. I kid you not. Go look it up. If it's natural flavoring. So, poor beavers. But if you like that sort of thing, I guess you can go ahead and have your, natural flavoring. Yeah, check it out. Check it out. Check out what sort of things can get onto, a product under the umbrella natural flavoring. Obviously, it didn't taste that way to begin with, or they wouldn't have to add the flavor in, right? So they're adding the flavor, and they can't say it's natural if it's created in a laboratory. But that doesn't mean it's coming from the almond. If it came from the almond, they wouldn't have to add it. It's coming from some other place. It's weird, some of the stuff they can put in there. All right. So, and plus the preservatives are an issue. All right. Take a look at this. Do you know that the McDonald's burger can sit on a shelf for over a year without getting moldy? Now that is incredible. Have you seen that? Have you seen people talking about that, and maybe a YouTube video about? That's meat, my friends. I mean, you're supposed to be able to put that in the fridge or throw it away, right? Isn't that what? So how come McDonald's can give you a burger that you can actually sit out on a shelf, on your bookshelf or something, for over a year and still come back to it and eat it? Because there's no bacteria growing on it. What did they put into the meat? Okay, so prepackaged is like, I don't, hey, you know what? Am I against it? Not really. I mean, I enjoy chips too. I eat some of this stuff. I just do, because I don't have $1,000 to spend on a grocery bill every day. And I don't have a farm I can live off of. I just don't, right? So how many of us can go pick our food, and we don't? So we're going to have to compromise, right? I mean, that's just like survival in America. It's compromising. But if I could avoid this, I think I really would, because I just die, you know. I have a friend who's invented a very special type of tea. It's an incredible tea. So they started a company. They moved to a high altitude city, okay? The thing won't boil right. So they're having trouble getting their tea back. They started off in a low altitude city and the boiling point was different. But this tea is fantastic, okay? So they really are going ahead with it. They got a problem. The food scientists and the FDA insist that the shelf life has 6 months shelf life. But because it's tea and it's packaged hot, they're selling it as a liquid, it's very conducive to bacterial growth. So they have to put a ton of preservatives in there. And they lost the flavor of the tea. The preservatives take it away, so they're trying to battle through that conundrum. But they have to put the preservatives in to keep the bacteria down. Because people want to, if you're going to sell it to a large store, they want to be able to put it on their shelves or put it in the back for inventory, because they don't want to have to sell it in 2 days. What if it doesn't sell in 2 days? Are they really going to throw it out? They just lost $10,000 or something for that big purchase. They want it to last for at least 6 months so they have a chance to sell it, right? And why are you even in that situation? Because you don't have a 10-acre plot by your house where you can grow your own food. So we are in a system of mandated compromise. We just have to do it to survive. But this is going to be full of stuff you might want to avoid later on if you can. Yes?
Why are they selling it hot? Do you know?
Well, no, it's not hot tea. They're selling a concentrate.
So they're not selling it like in the bag?
They're not selling it dry in the bag.
Why is that?
Well, they're developing a niche market, and they're trying to keep the recipe secret because they're adding stuff to the tea itself. It's not just tea. It's tea plus added spices.
Okay.
And they don't want someone to be able to, But anyway, yes.
So how did they ever find out that an anal gland in a beaver tastes like vanilla?
I have no idea. And you know what? I heard it anecdotally. In other words, someone told me. Somebody told me that vanilla extract has this stuff. So I actually, you want to try this out?
Yeah.
Well, do we have time?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's see.
Wait, it comes from a beaver's anus, or it tastes like a beaver's anus?
It comes from a beaver.
Wait, what's the word you use? Anaboli?
Anecdotally. An anecdote. In other words, someone kind of just told it to me, and I kind of just believed her, because she's my wife, I gotta believe her. So I didn't run and say, now hold on a second right there. This might be slander, let me check. I didn't. But, and then in my, inspired moments right now, I'm sharing it with you. But, it could be wrong. It could be wrong, right? I hope it does. I hope it's not wrong, because I just put it on this recording. But anyway. Well, let's see. Does vanilla... See, I always struggle with how to ask questions to Google. I just type in the thing, right? But vanilla extract.
Just do vanilla extract and do vanilla extract plus beaver's anus.
Anal gland. Beaver. Come on. No, here we go. Let's see. Am I destroying your world here if it comes out that, in fact... Beaver butts emit goo used for vanilla flavoring. National Geographic.
Wait, no way.
No, oh my god.
Wait, what kind of food is this?
I'm not going to say.
Beaver butts emit goo. I mean, they're just calling it goo. Your vanilla ice cream. Oh yeah, how many of us love vanilla ice cream?
Oh, not anymore. It smelled like beaver butt.
See, but you know, I guess we're still taking them by their word because I really don't know what a beaver butt smells like. I guess it smells like vanilla. I don't know.
National Geographic. I feel like that's pretty.
So they do just a scientist just
Pretty-
one day and just smell the butt.
I don't know. See, at this point, you can
Milk the anal.
you know, you can question the source, but at one point, you know, how skeptical are you going to be? You get so many voices saying it is coming from a beaver's anal gland. I mean, at one point you're like, okay, maybe it is coming from the beaver's gland. And even if it isn't, now you're kind of wondering, and it kind of does something to you. But you know what? Hey, let me ask you something. Somebody made that. Somebody made a decision to say, you know what? That's okay. Put it in. Who made the decision? Who made the decision?
Put it in and we'll just run with it.
The person who was trying to sell the product and to create a profit margin, right? You don't want to sell anything you can't make a profit on. The American consumerism is not altruistic, okay, especially if they're a publicly traded company. They want to make a profit. And if they can call it natural flavoring and not list beaver behind, you know, effluvia or whatever on their ingredient list, they're going to put natural flavoring. There's no question about it. They're never going to mention the beaver butt. Okay, but somebody went ahead in an office somewhere and said, you know what? Let's just do it. So we know it's coming from the beaver butt, but they don't, and they're going to buy it. You know, it's crazy. But this is the culture you're living, and it doesn't. This is just one part of what happens. This is food. What happens in education? See, that's the next thing I might focus on in another class. As far as like how you sell education, how you package it. All right, I figured it out. You know how much money you're paying me for an hour's worth of my time? $2. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. How much does it cost for you to go get a tutor? 1 hour for a tutor. I mean, if you were to hire a tutor from a tutoring service for 1 hour, how much is it? $30?
Yeah.
$40? It's going to be somewhere around there. For me, right now, you just pay me $2 for this 75 minutes. I figured it out. I did the math.
Wait, $2?
$2.
My math teacher said it was $20.
Oh yeah, like.
No, not 20 an hour. No. You might be paying him 20 the year or the semester.
Really?
Yeah, I know exactly how much I get paid for one 3-credit class that has 20 to 25 to 25 students in it. Now, the students may drop out, right? So now we're down to like 20 something. But I know how much it is. And I know how many times we're supposed to meet, how many weeks, and how long we're supposed to meet for each time. For us, it's 150 minutes per week, right? And then you could throw in the prepping. What about prepping? What about grading? Okay. So how many hours do I actually spend with you a week, and how much am I getting paid at the end of it all? Divide that by my number of students. It's $2 an hour. Yeah. Where does all the profit go? That's the question for education. All right, but anyway, we're on this stuff here. So I guess we settled this issue about the beaver butt. Okay, let's go to this other one. So that's why I'm a little leery about prepackaged stuff now. All right, it's going to be pro-packaged, which is you know what it is? Okay, I'll give you the audiobook to look at. It's called "Kicking America's Habit of Overeating." Kicking America's Habit of Overeating. And it talks about the restaurant industry. And you know what they're going to do if they're going to try to sell you food is they're going to try to make it taste really good. I mean, that's rule number one. And you know what tastes really good to you because it's addictive? It's almost similar to cocaine. And you can check that out through the analysis of it. Sugar. Salt. Now salt's not, sugar is the one that produces similar, it's either cocaine or heroin. It produces a similar response in you. Like that's like when you get a sugar high or sugar, you feel really good. You feel happy after you eat that cupcake, don't you? You really do. I mean, and it's not just because you're a happy person, all right? Okay, it's sugar, it's salt, and it's fat. Those are the 3 keys: sugar, salt, and fat. So you think of a restaurant. Think how salty the food tastes. Think how much fried stuff it has, and think of the sugar content it has. Okay, it's going to be sugar, salt, and fat. So you're going to get an overdose of this. Okay, so it's usually overdosed with sugar, and they call it the big 3, or it's some name. The core 3, the triangle, something. Sugar, salt, and fat. You want to sell something? Lard it on. Like appetizers are famous for this. You like that spinach dip? Oh yeah, call it spinach dip and put a little bit of spinach. But you know what it is? It's all cheese. It's just all fat. All right, and it's a little bit of salty too, isn't it? Okay, so sugar, salt, fat. Yeah, it does sound good right now, doesn't it? Or it's going to be minimum do it yourself, which is, it's full of, this is what I call the shotgun approach to nutrition. Just grab and go. In other words, what happens is someone just grabs and goes because you're out of time. And you know you're hungry. You are hungry. So the issue is just eat. Just get something in you. Okay, so it's a banana, it's a piece of bread, it's that orange, it's this leftover piece of pizza from yesterday. That hopefully, you know, because I don't have a fridge, it's still okay to eat. I must be because, you know, McDonald's burgers last a year. So, but anyway, you just grab anything. It's just, man, get it and put it in and go, because you're out of time. But you know you're really hungry. But how is this a strategic approach to nutrition, right? This is that's why I call it a shotgun. Who knows what you get? You know that you're feeling okay afterwards. Somehow your mind doesn't code it as being hungry anymore, so you're okay. But you really don't know if you're getting the stuff you need, which is the question I want to ask is just how important breakfast to you, because it is the startup meal. And by this, I mean, listen, if you don't have a snack, or even if you do have a snack, but it's a small one, you realize you are probably going around 11 or 12 hours without food. Because you have supper at 7, and then maybe you have a small snack like at 11. Okay, so it's not like you're completely without food, but it's a small, it's a snack. And then you don't have breakfast till 7 or 8. That's 12 hours. If you skip breakfast, it's until lunch. That's like 15 hours without food. But think of a car. I mean a good bit of food. Think of a car. You're sitting in the parking lot. The car's off. When you stick the key in and you turn it on, guess what all of a sudden is working really, really hard? The battery. You're really draining a ton from that battery and the generator, the alternator to get the thing going, right? That's when it's cold. You have to like pump the gas and you have to do it because the car is really working hard just to get going. Once it warms up, it's in a state of metabolism. It's metabolizing the gas. That's kind of neat. I mean, it's just now the battery's not even doing any work. It's getting recharged by the generator, and the gas is doing it, right? So when you transition between states, the transition is full of energy. That's how come you feel tired after lunch. Many of you do, because your body's digesting the lunch, and the energy goes to digest the lunch, especially a large lunch, and it's taken from other parts of your mind and your muscles. So you feel sluggish after lunch. It's an energy transfer. It's a transitional state. So, you know, you're definitely transitioning from this sleep mode thing where all your programs have gone down. I mean, your heartbeat has slowed down. Your nerve firings have maybe for the muscles have gone down and all that sort of thing. And then, poof, you're up and it's like, whoa, back up to speed, you know, and it's a huge energy drain. And so breakfast, that's why people say you can't skip breakfast. You should never skip it, because it's really bad for your body. I really want to know just how important. So that's why I assigned you the question. That question has already been assigned. Let's see, I'm running out of time here, so I need to keep on going. Here are some other questions I have. Let's see, what is brain food? Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to give you these questions later to research, and you'll write a paragraph on them and put them on the discussion board. This one you're doing over the weekend. But we'll work with these others too. And I'm going to put brain food in quotation marks. What is brain food? Okay, actually, I'm going to have to just type this because of the time here. The beavers stole our time. A question I need. Okay, yeah. What time does the average college student have to get out of bed on an average weekday? Is the body still developing at age 22? Oh yeah, that's a question I want to know. At age 22, because if it's still developing, it's going to need even more energy, all right, and even more sleep. Okay, so now all of a sudden, I hope you're beginning to realize sleep is creeping in here. Why? Because I have an idea for a thesis. Let me just finish this out, and then I'll talk to you about it. what exactly does the body need after fasting? Okay, well that's part of breakfast, but I'll just put it up here now. In fact, some of you have already worked on this. I know that we have some answers in, so I'm just going to remind myself I need to look at that question. Okay, so, oh yes, here we go. Here's something interesting. And this is something we need to put into a survey. You know what I might do with this third survey, because it is another survey really. You know what, I'll assign 4 points to it, so that way you can pick up your grade line. Just do it, get it done right with your team member, you can each get 4 points for it. As opposed to it just goes into the portfolio thing. That'll help pick up some of your test grades and stuff like that, okay? So I'll go ahead and put this up here for easy grade. Yeah, okay. What time does the CS have to, okay, here's another one. How many college students, CS, had home cooked breakfast during their high school days? Just a show of hands here. How many of you lived at home when you were in high school? Raise your hand. How many of you, your mom actually cooked you breakfast while you were in high school? Raise your hand. Oh my goodness! Oh no, don't tell me it's blown up. How many of you actually ate better breakfasts? You ate more breakfasts than you do now, on average per day, per week, and they were like better for you. How many? Raise your hands. No. This might blow my thesis out of the water. Yes. Oh, you're answering the question. Okay. All right. See, here's my idea. Okay. Because I don't know what we can do with this, and this is a perennial question you run into when you're doing research. You got to read a lot about a topic. It would be better if you focus it. So notice we didn't just read about health; we read about breakfast, because that's more manageable. Then once you know you got stuff you can work with, you got to be able to sit back and say, what can I do about this? What can I do with this? And I don't want the thesis to be college students should eat breakfast. It's like I'm sure that's already been. Or high school students or student people should eat breakfast. I'm sure that's already been sort of like supported out there already. It's already been said. This is what I'm thinking, okay? How many of you, I think we can go ahead and really put it on firm ground that if you don't eat breakfast and you're not getting enough sleep, hey, I know what else we can do. How stressful is college? And you're getting stressed out because you're doing hard work in college, right? On a scale from 1 to 10, it's like an 8 for you. It's just blowing you away. That's not good for your health. You're gonna be unhealthy. Your immune system goes down under stress, under lack of sleep. You're not getting enough food. Okay? So you get sick more often. Here's another question. Hang on a second. Do you get sick more often in college than before? Let's see.
I have a meeting with my...
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Take care.
Yeah, you too.
You're the best teacher ever. Just remember that. Please stay the same way.
Well, let me tell you, that can have a reverse effect, right?
It could.
He doesn't know what I'm talking about. As I call it, you flatter someone, and after they're like, yeah, you're getting a B. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that for him. He's going to hear this on the video. I hope he can laugh about it. You're getting an A. You're a good student. I need to stop this stuff. As a college student, do you get sick more often than before? Right? Because I need to know this. If you are getting sick more often than before, this works into it. Why? The question is why. Because now here's my question, and a big question I want you to think about is this. I'll put it on the board, or maybe I'll just put it here. The other day, a student came to me and talked to me and said, I don't know what's happening to me. This is not who I am. When I was in high school, I was an A student. I got everything done. Now that I'm in college, I'm so far behind in my work. It's pathetic. And I don't recognize what's happening. I don't know what happened to me. I just can't figure it out. But this, I just want to assure you, and he was like, I'm going to get caught up on this. I'm going to catch up. And I'll be okay at the end of the semester because this is not me. I just know it's not me. And, I tried to encourage him as best I could, but I can't tell you how more often than not I get that sort of story. And it's not just a story. It's not something flippant. These people are actually going through trauma. And it's very strange. They're not depressed or anything, but there's like, I can't figure this out. I thought I was one way in high school. When I get to college, okay, now here's my idea. It's just an idea. I need you to help me like tweak it or revise it or work with it. My daughter goes to a school, and in the school there was a teacher for like second grade or something, I don't know what grade, would put red flags, like a red flag, I think it was a red flag, or maybe it was like a red stop sign, or a red flag, I think it was red flag, for someone like who was talking, right? So here's like a 6-year-old kid, 7-year-old kid, he's talking. Red flag, you're talking. And then, 10 minutes goes by, he starts talking at another red flag. And it was going up in front of so everyone can see this kid was getting all these red flags. So pretty soon there was like, wow, look at all these red flags this guy had. And he was a 7-year-old, a guy, a boy. You know how energetic they are? How like sometimes just like can't even think about the same thing for 1 second thing? They are. And you know what the parents did for that boy? They took him out of school. Because they were afraid that he was going to start thinking of himself as like a red flag guy. It's like always somebody that just gets in trouble all the time with the teacher. And very well may have been the teacher's fault. Was there someone in there giving the teacher a red flag because she kept on trying to talk for 30 minutes without giving them a hands-on, manipulative, let's get together in a group or let's take a break and jump around for a little bit and come back? And was she making it fun? You got to make it fun for kids at that age. So she wasn't getting her red flags, but the boy was. And what I'm thinking is, how many of you have you've gone through and you've had an A in this class, an A in this class, and then you just hit a teacher, and it's like no matter what you do, you can't get an A. You thought you were an A student, but this teacher is making you rethink things, right? And there are a couple options. Either this teacher is incredibly strict, and you shouldn't expect to get an A in the class because he really prides himself in never giving an A. And he goes and he tells his friends back home, I never give an A. I think there were only 2 people in my whole teaching career that ever got an A from me, Is it that type of teacher? Or is it someone that's like, well, maybe, is this really who I am? Were the other teachers too lenient? Am I really a C student? All right? So it makes you think. What I'm saying is that we have a grading system set in place that does more than just assess how you're doing in a class. It seems to speak to your intelligence level. Okay? And I know because I've seen this happen in different ways that I've taught and different students I've seen come to me where they might say, well, I never thought I was a good writing student because they had someone that was like over strict or something, and they begin to think I'm just not a good writer. Or I used to teach reading. I used to teach speed reading, and I would have or just reading skills to 7th, 8th, 9th graders. And I would have parents say, I never realized my student, I constantly thought my child was a deficient reader. And they were actually talking to the kid in terms of, well, you're not going to read as well as others, but don't let that trouble you. You can do well in the class. And you put him in the class, and the kid's like reading great. He's in the top 5% of readers for the class. And the teachers are so stunned. And I mean, the parents are, and they're so thankful. You know why? Because they have some sort of authority figure that's telling them, your kid's okay. So this grading stuff, in my mind, has a lot of negatives to it because you might start pegging yourself as a C student because something's happening in college that wasn't happening in high school. And I wonder how much of it has to do with sleeping and eating habits and in terms of like pure intellectual ability. And what I need to find out and what we're going to do with the survey and what we're going to try to show here is that there's enough of a change happening between eating habits and sleeping habits, but especially eating habits and particularly breakfast, between the student that's not in college yet, the high school student, and the college student, so that you, especially if breakfast is a brain food thing and helping your brain, you might actually be just filling up your tanks halfway, and you might not be as, it might not even be that you're aware of it, but you might not be as sharp as you were, as energetic as you were, as able to pay attention as you were, as able to stay organized as you were, as excited as you were about learning and working. And just things are kind of like falling out for you. And you're beginning to think, is this who I am as a person? Okay? And that'll rock your world if you go that route. It might be you're not eating right. And if you just would sleep and eat right, you might get that spunk back and that sharpness back. And it's not going to be a huge leap, but it's going to be enough for you to get back on track with grades, with energy, with excitement, with getting through stuff. So that's one thing I think we can kind of prove. But we're going to have to find out how many people are struggling with this phenomenon. And it's the phenomenon of doing really well in high school when you were actually sleeping better and having better food. And then when you were shoved off on your own and you're running out of time, so you're not sleeping well and not eating well, especially breakfast, you're struggling with grades and you're struggling with the whole experience. What do we call that phenomenon? It's the phenomenon of someone who did well in high school, but when they hit college, it just all fell apart for some reason. What are we going to call it? We need a name for that. Somebody in the last class suggested transition shock. I think that's pretty good, but it's still a little too broad because with just that definition, you would go through transition shock when you sold your house in California and moved to Ohio, or when you got fired from a job, because that's a huge transition. So if we just call it transition shock, it might allow too many phenomena to get coded under it, right? The firing of a job, the moving from one state to another, the loss of a loved one, something like that. Or it could be the reverse side of it, when you get a new transition, like you get that new job. It's like, wow, all right. Oh, that's a big transition. Are you going through some sort of shock with that? No, it is shock and it is transition, but it's for that college. It's that person that did really well in high school, but not so well in college. What are we going to call that? I'll let you think about it. We'll talk about it more next time we meet, okay? But I think that's where we might be able to go with this stuff. All right. Anyway, I'm going to stop this now.